I can run in there.
Action! What was the idea for this group show?
Well, the idea of the show is getting away from it all. So it was about, and I guess our response to COVID as an artist, for me anyway, is to be in a studio, which is what most artists have always done. So it hasn't really been that different. But it's also the idea of being an artist or being outside and taking more notice of what's around you, of what your environment is in your relationship to it.
It was nice because it was a lot quieter, wasn't it? There was no traffic. It was enjoyable.
And the skies were incredible. Like that was a worldwide phenomenon of people actually stepping outside and photographing the skies that were empty of planes. But also the sense of openness, I think, because everybody, you go into lockdown and your environment becomes quite limited, and then suddenly there's this glorious outbursting of the horizon and everything being open when you're out there plein air painting in a regional centre.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I just enjoyed walking around because it was to me it was no different at all.
No.
But it was actually better because I love the studio and I love the isolation of the studio, but when everything else was quiet, it was good. I could concentrate. For some reason I could concentrate that.
Yeah.
And maybe because we're more confined to our environment during COVID, you took more notice.
Yeah,
all the little things became bigger around you.
Definitely, there's an opening up once you stepped outside, and I also found, after painting inside a lot, I was going back and choosing slightly earlier pictures that referred to times when I, was blissfully unaware of the dangers of being outdoors.
Do you mean catching something?
Catching something, yeah, other than just being attacked on the beach when you paint at night, by yourself. And when I became a parent, I thought, this is a pretty heavy cost.
Crocodiles.
Yeah. Crocodiles. Well, Woodgate, some people
do.
A couple of people got stabbed on the beach at Woodgate, and that did stop me going out night painting for about a year. But then I went out again. But once you become a parent, there's a cost to dying as an artist on a beach in the dark.
Yeah.
There's another cost, of course. But it seems irrelevant when 10 million cases of COVID go on.
Well, Brisbane has started to come alive again, which is good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's true. We creep out, we creep in. But do you know what's interesting is that Uber drivers say just a little sprinkling of rain and Brisbane just turns into a country town again. So even if we are allowed to come out, most people, I think, are taking it seriously and just saying they're ringing ahead or they're being extremely cautious. Whereas, I think it's miraculous to the wind down south, isn't it? Yeah. People have been a bit reckless, with the average age of COVID being 32 or something. So don't blame the oldies. For once, the baby boomers aren't responsible.
I love that. It felt like we're back in the 70s. That quietness of COVID. Did you feel that?
It was a bit like that.
And there's a lot more time. Time seems.
Time seemed to slow down a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in the paintings too, I was looking at the change of light. Like Claire, you paint plein air, and I kind of thrive on plein air. I don't take that into the studio. I just put myself out in the sun or hopefully dressed as a beekeeper with no cancers, and just keep working with that changing light through the day. So that becomes the dusk and the morning light. Are really quite exciting, but that patch of garden that's got all golds pouring through from a dusk sunset is really crispy and bright and fresh in the morning. So I really enjoyed that aspect of getting away from it all. As a title to work to, Claire, was really about what people most want in Brisbane to escape. And sometimes it's a gorgeous walk down the street where people have chosen wild colours and a crazy aesthetic, or they've just cemented the hell out of the front yard.
Yeah. Well, I really like the street painting you did here.
Oh yeah, of Gatwick Street
Gatwick
in
Street.
Stafford Heights. I think Phil Brown commented on the fact that I was, turning the daggier parts of Brisbane into a sort of romantic impressionist landscape. Yeah, and just as Stephen Nothling likes to get a spooky greyhound expressing solitude, just like an Edward Hopper, I've got a cat that looks like a possum, which could be both, and a Toyota and some really shitty Jeep.
Brisbane is quite beautiful.
Yeah, it does. It's got some really lovely cameos, I think, of things put
I
together.
think when you observe anything like in minutiae, like interesting things happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
You say when you examine anything in one detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, because things become interesting, I think. Sort of like, because when I'm sort of painting a house, it can be the daggiest house in the world, but I don't paint it because it's a daggy house. I paint it generally with these ones, it's because of the colour thing. But as soon as you start looking at sort of what's involved in the most simple things, that like it's really absorbing because you can just sort of go deeper and deeper into it.
It really is. I mean, there's so many lovely things. Like here, it's Cairo, 1922, with a council bin, just to remind you exactly where you are, and the composition and the sweet fade on a tonal level of that complete asbestos house. You've made something beautiful.
And it's just around the corner.
And it's just around the corner. And look, the gauze over this failing greenery here, to try and keep the white cabbage moth out.
And there is a real stillness to Stephen, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I think that's just part of my practice, because I spend a bit of time actually making them happen. I think that just get quiet, because of the time. It's just, I think painting is absorbed the time
That you put into them,
for me, painting is sort of almost meditative, so I think, they just become natural.
So that's what attracted you to the meditation centre?
Not really.
Meditative?
I just find it amazing. That house would have been built in the 1970s, but it is still sort of so incongruous in the street. But it's sort of there, but it's just different from every other house that's around.
There's been creative Greek bricklaying, Italian bricklaying,
well, it's the columns on the veranda, I think, the cement columns.
There's a lot of love in that house.
Yeah, and it's solid, I walked past it and looked inside, it's concrete everywhere, like it'd be double brick sort of walls inside. I imagine it would, I've never been inside it, but
I live in a house like that. It's like made by a left-hand plasterer, and he's done that wash and drip. But then the 3 brick. See how they put alternate brown bricks into the fence? And you can imagine that would have been a very stressful day for the bricklayers. Why you didn't get chocolate? It's 3 across and 2 along. But it's so the symmetry of it is really beautiful. And then this is what happens in Stephen's paintings. Optically, the vibration of that red of veranda on there, it's like if you're just driving past really quickly, you get a fleeting sensation, and the repetition of all these lines and stripes, and then you've got a fence that just looks like a really poor set of teeth. All bunched in on each other. It's fantastic, and it's really great. And then what you've omitted is the terrible McMansion that's hopping up
on
next
the
to
other
it.
side as well. So that's probably the last surviving kind of timber house on the Brisbane Corso. And the people that own it, I just love that they painted it red. All the trees are red. It is as bright and red as you could possibly get. And I just think it's really brave that sort of somebody would do that.
You've got your feng shui painting, the front of your house purple to deflect any negative energy.
Is that it?
Well, the sad thing about that purple house is after I painted it, 2 weeks after it, people who own it painted the grey.
Grey, isn't that the emerging colour?
Boring.
Yeah.
I thought, I said to Deirdre, do you think I should go back and paint it grey? And the reason why I painted it was it was purple. And there was no grass in the front yard.
Is that concrete?
It's sort of dirt.
It's sort of dirt. Well, that is how Brisbane houses were. When we went to art college in the 80s, there was a place next to us that was a two-storey Queenslander with a full dirt floor, and a guy used to like put the ghetto blaster on his shoulder and rock around. It was like 88. And it was, there was a lot of dirt. Whenever you buy houses in Brisbane, you're surprised that, well, there's not cement in the garage, it's just dirt.
Well, it's that low maintenance garden kind of thing. Some people don't want to, so they just get rid of it. So we don't want to mow grass, so we'll just concrete it. My neighbours have done. But this house is really interesting because this would have been built as a railway cottage because it's in First Street and it's right at, like the railway line's on this side of the street. But the front steps have obviously rotted because the front steps would have come down to here.
Yes.
And so they've knocked the front steps off it and found this 1960s sort of steel balustrade and put it sideways and then just put it in concrete part.
So you might call it a mongrel.
It is a bit of
It is a bit of a mongrel.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing about this place is it's got no electrical wires going to it.
No.
You know,
Nothing coming into the house.
It doesn't
You mean it's
seem
off
to.
the grid but in the grid?
It's so bizarre. Like, you know,
No wonder they're growing a small cottage garden.
I went past it the other day because I thought, no, this can't be right. And I sort of,
But I love the way that, like, there's hardly a letterbox, but there is a locked off tree stump.
everything.
Oh, the poetry. And how come the flowers have come in on the street?
Oh, it was just because, you know, back in the 90s, I painted flowers just continually for, you know, pretty much nearly.
You were the flower master, if I may be so bold.
And I just kind of, like Stevens Road was just like, you know, 150 metres up out the road up there. That's because I walk past that when I'm going home. And sort of like, I really like the fact that the sign Stevens Road is pointing across to the pub.
It's almost like
when I started to draw it up, I just thought, oh God, this pub's going to be so hard to paint. I don't really want to do it. And then I thought, I might just sort of whack a couple of flowers in there.
oh yeah, because flowers are so easy to paint the way you paint them.
And it's sort of, and Stevens Road, the flowers were sort of my way, sort of back then.
And then, to
You know,
revisit
so
your
it was just,
painting.
so it was kind of self-referential sort of.
That is your
A
road.
bit of silliness, really.
Yeah.
Wow, oh my God, you've got silly in COVID.
So I just thought I'd do this corner, because all this stuff has just been done on this, you know, bike paths and
Newly
you know,
painted.
the traffic calming.
Yeah.
things, and it was so bright and colourful.
Yeah, it is.
And I really like those things in sort of the urban environment. You know, all the electrical wires on the street markings and stuff, it's all drawing. And it's everywhere, but we don't really notice it because it's just sort of, it's just ubiquitous. It's all over the place. So I quite like enjoying sort of just painting that, really. And because it's sort of a bit boring. I'm halfway between you and Claire, because with Claire, you go where there are no poles and electrical wires, but I'm sort of 8.2k away from the city, and sometimes I'll start putting a wire in because it gives it a grand swing or a nice gesture or a line into the composition, but then sometimes it has to be minimised because it's too dominant. Well, it's really interesting because when you paint like in this, like there's so many wires. Like this is only a tenth of them because if you put as many in as that were there, it'd just be sort of too much. But to me, it's like just drawing in space, really, because they don't. I mean, there is a logic to electrical wires, which I haven't taught. Because a few years ago, I was painting all these sort of street paintings. Somebody said, no, electrical wires don't work like that, you know, so I had a lesson in how they actually go.
Which is what
I can tell you right now, it's a bit boring. So I try and make them sort of at least make sense, but I do, it's just like grey lines going across the sky. But they are so thin, you really should paint them because they're like logically, they're too narrow to be able to see in such a small painting.
Yeah, but when you get into the detail,
So would you just use one grey for a line, or would you go back over it with a lighter tone?
Oh no, generally it's
Just
one.
one.
one shot at it. But when it gets in front
You
of a
can,
whole,
yeah.
It's one shot, it is really like, and yeah. Sometimes it probably.
when you run it through and it disturbs all the underwork that you've done, and you've got like some wild clutch of trees, and you go, oh, I've got to risk it for a biscuit to cut a power line through there. And then sometimes you go, no, it was a mistake, compositionally, I can't look anywhere.
Then you can't go back.
Well, you can, because you just push paint around, because that's our mantra.
Yeah.
Just push paint around.
Yeah.
And that's Bobby Moore's mantra. He couldn't be here because he's in Grafton.
Well, you know Bob.
I
Tell
know
us more
Bob
about
Moore.
Bob.
Let me tell you about Big Bad Bobby Moore. I was in a band with him called Cow, and he even provides hand-stitched catalogues. Look, available for your perusal.
I like one of those original books of his.
Yeah. He's a very, very clever bloke who used to work for Mambo, and Jeff Raglis and people like that would say, how could you compete with Bob? He turned up in Sydney with a trailer load full of stuff, but he's painting the fantastic landscape around Grafton, and his response is really stylistically, it's become a lot more open and free. And his impressions of rosellas and the bird life and the bush around him are really essential, and a lot like Ian Fairweather. Just as a response to the environment. I don't want to speak on Bob's behalf, but they're cracking pictures, and just the subjects of the bush. And when you can't really see, you would find this too when you went plein airing looking for subjects. There's an amount of space. But sometimes the bush can be really overwhelming.
Yeah, Claire, tell us about your plein air paintings while we're here. What's your favourite?
I think these are my favourite because they're really loose, and I painted them. I didn't push a lot of paint around. They were spontaneous, and they happened in the studio, but they were large, but they were kind of quite immediate. And I always find something smaller easier to paint or complete. Do you guys?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you're wrestling with some sort of walrus when you've got a huge painting.
Huge space to fill.
I think Stephen likes these ones. You like these ones?
those ones, yeah.
I love them too,
I
yeah.
like
The spontaneity is fantastic, and the compositions just work.
and they're really, really fresh.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what I liked about them that I think I captured. And this one's in oil, so it's a different medium, which is always a different result, isn't it? Gouache, oil.
Gouache has got the floaty quality, and the oil has a kind of it gets bedded down, doesn't it? Like it sinks in.
And it has more viscosity, more lushness. And, and I guess I use, you were talking about the wires as a compositional device. I kind of do the same thing, but with pencil, but they're more quite abstract. They're verticals, the length,
the telegraph poles.
Yeah. But they are important to a composition to have your verticals and horizontals, even if it is so abstract.
And also there's such a long horizontal stretch of landscape. Like your sky has a shape. In Clare's paintings, there's so much focus on being in the landscape, but making that composition work as well. When you unpack that in the studio. So a lot of people just think art might be a hell for leather grab on what the colours you like or whatever, but it's a very, very careful balance of that openness and expression.
It is too, and I guess something like this is more intuitive, finished in the studio. So I'm not really so much trying to capture the realism of the scene, but something internal that kind of emotional reaction.
How it feels when you're in that space.
And I mean, out on the scenic room, there's all these yellows and oranges, like kind of burnt bush colours. And I see the purple out, like rich red.
Definitely, And they are distant, like hills, but you're doing that great thing that Monet did when he painted Belle-Ile, so that the yellows come forward and the blues retreat, but you're playing around with the science of colour there, where you've got some really vibrant blues and purples at the back, and yet they're not competing like with the rest of the painting. It's it's very beautiful because things are harmonised, and the looseness of the space down here, like for the gravity of the sky, you know, like it's really lovely to look at.
And I guess that's what I love about kind of abstract landscape painting is to achieve something intuitive and then use that kind of chance mark making that you found to be the starting point for a painting, to build the painting around it.
And it's all about that feel on the day when you take your tools out and replicating the feeling that you had when you were in front of the elements.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Should we go to the next room and have a look at an incredible